All right, readers, today I'm going to talk to you about one more text feature, and the name of this text feature that you will see in both nonfiction and fiction book is called a diagram. Everybody say diagram. Diagram. So diagrams is when an author uses labels, lines, arrows, and pictures all combined to teach you more about a topic. So this is an example of a diagram here. So the author could have just put a picture of a person, but instead they made it into a diagram by labeling and putting a little line to all the specific parts of a person. So here we have the ear, the mouth, the chest, the stomach, the knee. You get the idea. So it's more than just an illustration and more than just a photo because the specific parts of it say exactly what they are. Now, it's different also than captions. So captions would tell you in general like what the whole photograph is of, whereas a diagram, once again, it points to the specific parts so that you can learn. So you probably all knew that one, but you might come across some diagrams in your reading that teach you things you didn't know about before. And so when you see a diagram in a book or on Epic or wherever you see a diagram in your life, it's important to take that time to stop and study the diagram. Okay, so if you were to see this picture of the human heart here, you can learn about the different parts of the heart. Maybe even try and learn some of those vocabulary words, right? Or this diagram here of the brain, and it shows you what each of the parts of the brain help to control. So you would want to stop, look at that. You would want to read all the labels, and you want to be thinking like, gosh, did I know that before? Or, oh, this is very interesting. Or, oh, this information is very important. So you want to stop and you want to be thinking. Now, sometimes an author will include a diagram that doesn't necessarily point to specific parts, but kind of gives specific ideas. So in this case, we have this diagram talking about the water cycle. And so here we see precipitation, and it uses that vocabulary word. So then you would know, like, precipitation is what is being shown in this part of the picture here. And we have that arrow, the collection of the water, the evaporation when it turns into gas, goes up into the clouds. And then it's called condensation when it forms the water up there in the clouds. So sometimes this looks different than like specific lines to specific areas. You might see something different like that. Or some of them, just so you know, some diagrams have like lots and lots of labels, whereas this one didn't have. These are both diagrams of the water cycle. But you can see that this one has a lot more labels than the other one did. So all diagrams are going to look a little bit different. You'll know it's a diagram if it has the arrows or the lines that point to the specific parts of an image. Okay. So now I'm going to read aloud a story too that's like a great illustration of how a diagram helps you to learn more about a topic. Okay, so this one is called Inside a Cow. Do you ever know what it looks like inside a cow? This right here on the cover isn't exactly a diagram because it doesn't tell us what the names of any of the parts are. But you can see this illustrator made, it's really an illustration over a photograph to show us what is very special about the inside of a cow. So inside a cow. A big mama cow eats a lot of grass each day. First, she pulls up a clump of grass with her tongue. Then she chews it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. A cow has flat teeth in the back of its mouth. They're perfect for mashing up tough grass. Next, the cow swallows the clump of mashed grass. The grass goes down, down, down. So see this caption here. It says, a cow's stomach has 4 parts. The grass goes into part 1 first. So here we have a caption and a diagram. It's showing you once it chews the grass, it goes into one part of the stomach. Did you know a cow has 4 parts to its stomach? So this diagram shows you exactly where it would go. Then she makes a very big burp, and the slimy grass gurgles up, up, up. Some grass goes into part 2 and forms into soft chunks. Then the cow brings the chunks back into its mouth. This is true. So now on this diagram, it's so nice and easy to see what happens with that grass. It goes from 1 to 2, and then some of it goes back up. You can even see the arrow. It helps you to know which direction that grass goes. Now, the slimy grass is called cud. She chews and chews the cud. Squish, squish, squish. A cow chews its cud for many hours each day. So it just keeps chewing that. So back now we see this diagram again. Then she swallows the wet green cud again. It goes down, down, down. The cud moves up and down a long tube that goes from the mouth to the stomach. So here, the illustrator made a little line so that you know this part is called a tube. So a very nice diagram there. Next, the gooey cud goes into the 3rd part, and then the 4th part, gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. So it goes here and then here. Part 3 filters out big pieces of grass. Then very small pieces go into part 4 to be broken down for energy. The goo keeps going and going and going. A cow uses some of the energy it gets from eating grass to make milk. So you see the arrow. Maybe you understand what's happening here, right? Yeah. Then it comes out the other end. Plop. And there is a little label here that is poop. Anything that a cow can't use for energy comes out as poop. And that is true. Oh my goodness. So it might seem a little silly to talk about, but this illustration, this diagram here has been so helpful to understand what happens when a cow eats, right? That it has so many different stomachs and then what goes on there. So I'll finish reading the rest of the book. It says, how cows eat. Some other animals have a stomach with 4 parts too. All of these animals eat grass and other tough plants. When an animal eats tough food, it has to chew it many times. The food moves down and up and down a few times. Sheep and goats also have this kind of stomach and chew their cud over and over. So that makes sense. It's so tough. They have to keep chewing it so that their body can digest it and get all the nutrients from it that it needs. All right, 2nd graders. Well, today I introduced you to the idea of diagrams, which is a text feature that has a picture with labeled parts to teach you more about a topic. And then we enjoyed this great scientific book together, Inside a Cow, that has an excellent example of a diagram. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something. And I hope most of all that in the future, when you are reading a nonfiction book, you stop and really look carefully when you see a diagram because they teach you a lot. Readers are leaders.